You're listening to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will introduce you to a wealth of interesting, fascinating individuals from all walks of life who will share their stories, how they've overcome challenges, and you will find out their top tips for success. Through this podcast, you can gain tips to grow and change your life and the way you see the world, and help you to nurture your zest. Hello and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. I'm delighted to be joined today by Terry Blackburn, who is an amazing entrepreneur with 11 businesses and 4 kids. Is that right?
Yeah.
Four kids.
Yeah.
And
No more kids.
No more kids.
No.
He's got an amazing story, so I can't wait to share him with you. So thanks for coming in, Terry.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, appreciate it.
So it's nice to have you in our very creative and flamboyant space. And what I
It's
like,
a lovely setup, by the way. Lovely.
what I love is that you kind of get that chaos and creativity, and but also I guess you must be accustomed to chaos with 4 kids and 11 businesses.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I know from working with you as well is you've always got so much going on, which is exciting. So for anyone who's never met you before, who is Terry Blackburn? Who are you? What do you do with your 11 businesses?
Yeah, it might take a while, but I'll shorten it. So yeah, I'm 33. I'm from Newcastle, born and bred. Didn't have anything growing up, and somehow stumbled into sales when I was 19 for an American company. Sort of developed in that side of the business. Set up my own first business when I was 24. That became the largest life insurance brokers in the country. 100 plus staff, turnover quite a few £1 million. Alongside that, I've set up other multiple businesses, sold them. A lot of it's around property now. So I've got buy-to-lets, which is houses rented to a family. We've got HMOs, which is rented to student accommodation. Students renting houses, basically. Got Airbnbs, hotels, cafes, bars, restaurants, glamping sites, loads and loads going on. So I've got a podcast, I wrote a book. Yeah, that's me. There's lots going on, and it'll be different in a month's time. It'll be even more different in a year's time. It keeps changing, but that's me.
So what you've achieved at 33, I mean, you're a year younger than me. I'm 34 recently, and I just can't believe how much you've done. I mean,
Thank you.
You ticked a lot of boxes. So what's the driving force behind this incredible achievement? But does it also feel like success to you?
What's the driving force? The driving force changes all of the time. And I think that's an important point. Some people might think, right, I want to be where that person is, so I'm going to copy everything that person does. And I want to be like, copy. Because at the end of the day, to be successful, you just need to generally copy what someone else has done.
Yeah.
But I can't say that one thing is my driving force, as most people will be the same. Most people who keep evolving and changing and growing and developing in their career, it does change. So my driving force, my children, is always going to be one, because I want a certain type of life for them that I never had. That's always going to be there. Business goals, originally it was 100 properties, then it went to 1,000 properties. Probably in 5 years' time, it'll be more than that. It was be the biggest life insurance brokerage in the country. We achieved that. Then it changed to, I've exited that business now. It's the largest glamping business in Europe. So it constantly changes in terms of my driving force. And there's things like I like to be recognised. I like that feeling. I don't know about you. I like to have a good reputation. That's really important to me. And how you get a good reputation is consistently doing big things with integrity and doing the right thing. Because there's a lot of people at the top who haven't done the right thing to get there. I want to maintain my good reputation by doing the right thing consistently, with integrity, with honesty. Having a great team around us, that's really important to us. But yeah, I just want to be the best version of me I can possibly be in all parts of my life. Being a parent, being a partner, being a business owner, being a leader, inspire my staff, inspire my friends and family and people around us, and just be me. That's my drive, I think.
I think it's incredible, actually, that the first 2 things you said there was to be a parent and being a partner, because I find that sometimes trying to juggle friendships, relationships, and a business, and the needs of a growing business, and feeding the cash-eating monster of a startup can feel really difficult. And the fact you put those 2 things first is awesome, because, I mean, gosh, it must be so busy with everything you're doing. But the fact that you said, I want to be the best version of me as a partner and as a parent, I think that's just amazing. And I mean, you spoke about this already, and I've listened to your book because you've been doing an audiobook with us.
Yeah.
But I've had the fortune of hearing some of your ideas and some of your journey so far. And I mean, it's incredible that you want to provide this amazing life for your kids, so they have the skills that they need to do whatever they want to do. But also what I find exciting with your businesses, and you've mentioned exiting life insurance, but for many people, they couldn't get access to certain financial products, right? So what you've created is something that people can access. Did you ever see yourself growing up going into finance?
Definitely not.
Right.
Definitely not. I was in with the wrong crowd from pretty young to probably, I don't know, 11, 12. I was drinking on the streets, sticking drugs and being a bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
Until sort of 18. I was really bad. I was off the rails. I moved out from home when I was 16. Moved into a dingy little flat where there was druggies upstairs, druggies downstairs, and yeah, I was getting up to all sorts, and I was really in with the wrong crowd. So definitely not throughout that period of my life. I didn't know what was what. I was just a chav, really. I was doing my thing on the streets and yeah, knocking about with the wrong people. So I did always think, I do remember though, when I was 16, straight from school, I went into a joinery apprenticeship, so a builder. I do remember then telling people, and I got laughed at, I said it in the book, I do specifically remember saying to people, I'm not going to be a builder forever. And the builders were like, yeah, of course, Terry, we said that. I was like, no, I'll be a millionaire. I'll do big things. Of course you will. Go make us the tea. So I had an inkling I was going to do something. I never thought it would be finance. I didn't know what it was, to be fair. And I literally stumbled into life insurance sales. I got offered a position for an American company called Combined Insurance Company of America. Within 2 weeks, that was it. I found at the time, it was my purpose and it was my passion. That's changed now because you do develop and you change as a person as you get older and as you grow. But that was like, then at that point I knew, right, this is what I want to do. And then within a couple of years, I thought it's dominated by old people, this industry. I was 19, so we're going to be I'm going to build the biggest company in life insurance ever in the UK. I said that when I was like 20 and everyone laughed at us again. But then I was like, no, this is happening. And I get a bit of a chip on my shoulder. And I was like, I'm going to make this happen now. And we did. So yeah, I don't think anybody really grows up thinking, I'm going to be a financial advisor. I'm going to do life insurance. I think they're pretty weird if they think that. I just knew I was going to do something. I knew I was better than what I was doing. And I knew I was going to get out of what I was doing. I was just stuck in a little bit of a rut with the wrong people.
Yeah.
I think.
It's interesting as well. Sometimes when we go through that experience of being in with the wrong crowd, sometimes it's a case of life circumstances or, not really knowing what's right and wrong, not having the right role models, but also whatever needs we have not being met for whatever reason that we need to cope and exploring different things. So I've been there myself, and I think it's an important journey for anyone, whatever they do, whatever they go through, to have life experience, because it gives you empathy and compassion 100%. For others. So it means that if you meet people who are genuinely struggling, you can understand and share, and I think it makes us better business owners as well. So definitely. Yeah, I mean, at what point did you go, I'm going to write a book,
The book, I mean, the reason I wrote the book is I'm very big on goal setting, and I like testing myself. So the life insurance thing, I got really good at it quite quickly. And then it got to a point where I was a little bit like, I know I'm good at this. Everyone's telling us I'm good at this. We've built a great team, built a great business. We're making loads of money. I didn't feel like I'd made it as such, because I don't think you should ever get complacent. But I felt like I've achieved what I want to achieve almost. And I know I can, even though we weren't number one at that stage, I knew it was coming. So I'm the type of person, I need the next thing a little bit. I get a little bit bored and I need something to really test us or really challenge us. So then, I started buying the properties. Then I started getting into the bigger properties, the hotels. And then, from the hotels, it goes to something else. And I keep trying to test myself. So I started the podcast and done all these other things. And then it came, I read books all the time. I listen to audio all the time. So why don't I write one? spoke to a few people, but it's quite hard to write a book, isn't it? I thought, yeah, it is. So I just set myself a goal. I'm going to write a book in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So every week, every morning, I've done about an hour of, well, you just transcribe it. You just press this app and you talk and it transcribes it. I definitely didn't write it. And yeah, I done it in 6 weeks. So there was also part I want to get my message across and impact the people are around us and the people I interact with. I normally impact them in some way or help them in some way. But the book has wider scope, doesn't it? I can impact loads of families with life insurance in the UK, but there's only so far that can go. We can't sell in different countries. A book can go worldwide straight away. So in a podcast. So I wanted to get my message out and I wanted to test myself is why I wrote the book.
It's also a credibility thing, right? So many people have a book, and it's actually, I mean, I, like you, love to read, listen to audiobooks, and a lot of the things I read are self-help books or psychology books or sales books or things that are really about the human brain or the psyche, and I love to learn things. And one of the things I'm, really interested in is when you have a book, looking at sales strategies and social media, there's so much noise, but actually that can be such a pivotal piece of marketing because you become an author, people recognize your name, you can access it, whether it's an audiobook, a Kindle, a physical document, but it lives on for so long as well. So we can write blogs and they can also live on for a long time, but you have to pay for those things to be hosted somewhere. Whereas a book can sit on someone's shelf, but they'll always remember you and they'll remember that message. So I think what you've done in the case of 6 weeks is amazing. I've been writing my own book about my story and, overcoming post-traumatic stress disorder and some of the things I've been through. And I certainly have not taken 6 weeks. I get random spurts of like, oh, I should write this at 3 a.m., and that's my best writing time.
But if you set a goal, that's time bound. A goal for me isn't a proper goal unless it's got a deadline.
Yeah.
Because if you just say, I want to write a book, there's no urgency there. There's no deadline. Yeah. You might do a little bit one day, not the next day. But if you set a time pressured goal and you reward yourself when you achieve that, when you hit the deadline, it becomes more powerful. There's more urgency built into it and you're more likely to achieve it by setting a deadline.
Yeah.
So that's what I do with all my goals. It might be earn X amount in a calendar year. It might be X amount of properties by this date. If you just say, I want to earn this much, are you really going to be on that every day if you haven't got a deadline? And then within that deadline, you measure it. So I knew within 6 weeks, 3 weeks, I need to be halfway through. So you can almost set yourself targets and little mini goals within your goal as long as you've got a deadline. But if you haven't got a deadline, it's less likely to happen and it's definitely not going to happen as quick.
Exactly. It's so true. I have ADHD, so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I wonder sometimes if you might have it with 11 businesses. But I have to be honest, the idea of having what you have on your plate, I mean, people say to me a lot, you've got lots on your plate. I'm like, yeah, I do. But actually, what I like about what you're saying is you hold yourself to pretty high standards. So, I need to do this. This is the date I'm going to do it by. This is the time. These are the parameters around it. And that's really exciting. So I think what I wanted to ask you, connected to that is you've got all these goals and that's great. But what happens when you've met that goal? So do you just start to chase the next goal? Because I'm a bit like that. Or do you actually take time to savor that success?
Majority of the time, probably, all of the time, I'd probably say, before I've even got the goal, I've got the next one. And that's just, I don't know if that's something that's built into us. I don't know why I'm like that. But people have said to us, like, when you're going to stop? Like, why isn't 100 properties enough? Why isn't X amount of money enough? Because if you stop, what are you going to do? Like, for me, it's definitely not about the money anymore. It used to be, I must admit, when I was younger, it is all about the money. But now it's about what can I actually achieve and how, because there's people who achieve a lot more than me, a lot more than you, a lot more than everybody who's listening to this. There's always someone who's doing more than you. So if they can do more, you can do more too. But the second you think, right, once I achieve this, my life is complete. You hear about stories of once they achieve what they want, they get depressed, they get down because they have no sense of purpose, no get up and go, no nothing. So I always try, and before I'm even there, I've moved it. I'll give you an example. So I set a goal 2 years ago. I wanted to win an award for something to do with property. I've won, I think there's 20 plus awards in financial services over the years. We've nailed that industry. but I never won anything in property. So I set myself a goal. I won that last year. Was it last year? The year before? Last year. Property Investor of the Year I won. I'm nominated again in 2 weeks. End of November, I'm nominated again. But I won it in December last year. I celebrated that night, and then I said, right, I want to do it again.
Wow.
So that's just because you don't know if you're going to win the award. So I can't really say I'm going to win it next year if I don't even know I've won it this year.
Mm-hmm.
But the night that I won it, I got drunk, had a laugh, and then the next morning I was like, right, I'm going to nail it again. Wow. So that's how I don't know why I'm like that. I just am, like, because I know if I keep doing that, I'm not going to get bored. I'm not going to get complacent. I'm not going to just stay in the same place. Because I believe if you stay where you are, your competitors are normally trying to improve. So you're not even staying where you are, you're going backwards.
Well, this is the thing. So, and I love talking to you about this because I can feel your energy and passion around it. And I'm very similar in many ways. So you often, I've seen people in the past make jokes about the fat lass who's running around the block, in her jogging bottoms or whatever. And like, I think it's tricky for anyone, trying to stay healthy in their weight and stuff like that. But those people that are taking that first step, going to the gym, having that consistency, eating right, whatever it is, they're always outlapping the person on the sofa watching telly. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching telly or, relaxing, because we all need to have a way to let off steam. But I think it is important to remember that if you, for instance, if you have certain challenges like mobility issues or something like that, even stretches at home, whatever it is that you can do to help yourself look after yourself, I think is important. So, what you're saying there about the competitors and the competition, I really get, because I think without goals, how do we grow? And this is it. It's not just that we have more competition now. There's more noise now than ever. So, things change.
There's more pressure now than ever as well to be successful in money.
Things change so fast. So you've got, for instance, look how much TikTok has taken off. Look how much, just podcasting. You have a podcast too, 15 years ago, podcasts were a thing, but they are now everywhere. And some people think it's too late to join the party. I disagree. I think anyone can start a podcast. But it's this thing around, actually keeping on top of things can be really important. I want to come to something that's in your book. So in your book, you talk about different types, almost like archetypes, like a personality or, it's actually animals that you talk about. So you've got the lion, the sloth, and the hyena. And you might even have some other ones a little bit further on. But I'd love to hear, for anyone listening, a little bit about that concept. And then I've got some questions about it.
Of course. So going back to when I talked about the book, I think the message in the book, if you summarize it, then I'll talk about the different analogies. I just built in analogies because I believe that people take in information a little bit better and tend to remember it a bit better when there's an analogy. But the message of the book is you can have everything in every part of your life that you want, as long as you want it, all at the same time. So I've over the years heard people, imagine you're the same, people have said things like, you can't be really successful in business and still go to the gym 5 times a week. Because they think you have to sacrifice going to the gym and spend all your time in business to be successful. I don't believe that's true. Some people will neglect the relationship with the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, because they're so focused on money and business. Then that doesn't need to happen either. You can still be healthy and fit, and you can still be a good partner, as well as doing everything that you do. But some people, for some reason, think it's either or. So the message is, you can have everything all at the same time if you design your life to be that way. And it becomes into this lion mindset. So just a quirky analogy, it was when I was doing a training session with my team, was like, lions don't think, I can only eat one zebra a day. If they're still hungry, they'll go after, if they're injured zebra or gazelle or whatever they eat. I don't really know much about animals, by the way. But the lion's not going to think, oh no, I can't eat that zebra today. The lion's just going to go and get it. The lion does what he wants when he wants. There's nobody really the answer to. He's the king of the jungle, isn't he? So that's kind of the analogy on that. This lion mindset of you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want, whenever you want. And the only thing that's stopping you is self-doubt. The lion doesn't think, oh, I'm not fast enough to get that zebra. Even if he's not, he's still going to have a go, isn't he? I don't know, by the way, some zoologists or some might tell us different, but that's the analogy everyone understands. So there's the hyenas in your life. Hyenas make that horrible cackling, laughing sound, don't they? If you watch The Lion King, yeah, that's where I've basically got it from, The Lion King, the movie. But the hyenas are those type of people around you who constantly put you down, constantly are negative, no matter what you achieve and no matter what you do and how many people that you help or benefit or impact, they'll still have something negative to say. They'll still try and put you down and criticise you, and the trolls online, all them lot. They're always going to be there. And if you're a lion, and if you're strong-minded and you're focused, 1 or 2 hyenas, you can just back them off. But if there's a huge pack of them around you, as in your circle of friends or your group of friends, no matter how strong the lion is, they're going to weigh you down. They're going to nip away, and you're eventually going to get defeated by these self-doubters and these critics and these negative people. Mm-hmm. So that's an analogy everyone understands. I bet you can relate to that. I certainly can. Might be an ex-partner, might be an ex-friend, might be an ex-work colleague, whoever, or might just be someone you have no clue who they are. They just want to be nasty online. Then there's the sloths. The sloths are the people that just get by. They're just them slow creatures in the trees where they're crawling around like this, really slow, not really achieving anything in their life. Don't really know much about anything. They're just literally coasting and getting by. And to a degree, those people, a lot of them are quite happy, and they maybe don't know any different, or they don't want to know any different. But if you're a lion and you're hanging around with sloths, you're going to be slowed down. You're going to think that you're different and you shouldn't be doing all these creative and wonderful things because your circle is so different. And if you hang around with 5 gambling addicts, you're going to have a bet. If you hang around with 5 alcoholics, you're going to have a drink. If you hang around with 5 millionaires, you might just become the 6th. If you hang around with 5 skin people, probably going to waste your money, even if you've got a few quid. Mm. So that's the analogy of the sloths. And I think just everyone understands the concepts because they understand the animals. And that's what I just tried to get the message across in the book, is you be careful who you're hanging around with, and be careful of your self-doubt, and be careful of what you're limiting yourself by thinking that, oh, I don't have time for the gym. But if you're healthy and you're fit, your business will get better anyway. You'll be better at business. So just get up an hour early and go to the gym for an hour and watch how better you are at work. So people think, oh, if I go to the gym, I'm not gonna be able to do as much in business. But I think you'll actually do more because you'll perform better, you'll think better, you make better decisions. So anyway, that's the message of the book, and that's the analogies of the animals.
I think that's really interesting because, so for instance, I often will say, oh gosh, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that. Or I know, I've run my business for 3 years now. First 2 years, it failed. I didn't close the business down, I just pivoted, but I wasn't happy with the turnover and the performance in the first 2 years. Since then, I've worked really hard. I've created a podcasting studio. All this amazing stuff has happened. But a lot of that has been because I've changed and the way I've run my business has changed. But also through that time, I have made massive sacrifices around friendships, around partner, all these kind of things, relationships where you really want to be there for everyone, but you feel like you can't do it all. You feel pulled in every direction. And I think this is where it is important to go, well, hang on, is this the right thing for me to do? Is that making me money? Is that not? Am I hanging out in the right circles? Am I going to the right networking events, whatever that might be? So I can certainly see your points, especially in business, around those concepts. There's things like, for instance, with exercise, I walk to work and I walk home because I get to listen to audiobooks and I get fresh air.
Walking is so good, by the way. Exactly. It's so good for you.
But also I get intimidated sometimes by going into a gym where everyone knows what they're doing. So for me, walking is just such a nice way, and you feel fit. It's great for you.
Good for your mindset and clarity.
Yeah. It is. So one of the things though, I'm thinking, so I get it in like a business context, the sloth, the kind of hyena and the lion, but also from a people or kind of social issues, population point of view. What about our zebras? So we do have an issue in the UK. We've got, well, all over the world, rising costs, fuel, war, all these kinds of things, where there are many zebras that are vulnerable, for instance, or antelope, whatever they are, and maybe they are being eaten by lions or whatever. So I think there is something around those 3 things. The positive one is the lion. That's the one to aspire to. But what about the other types of ways you can be but also meet your goals and success. I mean, have you ever thought about that before? Have you got other kind of elements?
No, of course. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could have went on and on about the book, because I'm not saying that everyone should be a lion, because it's not right for everyone to be. You can still be very successful, because success is very subjective, isn't it? It depends on what, some people might not want any property. They might see that as too much hassle. They might just want a good paying job. They might want to go to work 9 to 5, come back, have time with the friends and family and the children, and that's absolutely fine. And I would never promote that you shouldn't do what you want to do, or that you should be like me. I try and get that across in the book, that everybody is different. Success is different to everybody. I just know a lot of people like me, but that's in the circles that I'm in and the people that I speak to. And there's always going to be 1,000,001 ways to be happy and 1,000,001 ways to be successful. But I think that the fundamentals come down to things like living life on your own terms, I think, is something that everybody should do, whether that's loads of property, loads of businesses, a high paying job, or no job. It depends on what that person wants. As long as you're feeling fulfilled, I do believe everybody has a need for progress, whatever that progress may be. Going back to your point about someone sitting on the sofa, or someone just walking, or someone lifting heavy weights, as long as you're making progress, I don't think anybody can argue that that is a good feeling. So if you are overweight and you lose weight, whether that's from walking or eating or whatever, that's a good feeling. If you look in the mirror and you look better, what you perceive to look is that you look better, is a good feeling. If you start to make more money, if you get a promotion, if you get into a better relationship, or your relationship gets better, or you have a better relationship with your partner, you feel like you're impacting your children better and bringing them up better. There's all examples of progress, and it's nothing to do with being a lion. That I think if you feel fulfilled, you feel happy, and you're making some form of progress, whatever that is. I think those are a couple of the fundamental things that everybody should try and have in their life. And at the end of the day, as long as you're happy, you're healthy, wealthy doesn't really matter. It matters to me. It matters to a lot of people, but it doesn't matter to everybody. But I think if you're happy and healthy and you've got money, you can be a bit happier. I don't think for 1 second, if you've got money and you've got no health and you've got it's not going to make you happy, is it? Let's be honest. You could be the richest person ever, but if you're sitting in your house by yourself with no partner, no kids, you're not very happy.
Well, this is it. So, and that's why I ask, because I think some of it's almost like a value shift. So we have people at all ends of the spectrum in terms of making money, not making money, doing things they love, not doing things they love. So I see this a lot working in the creative industries. There isn't always the same funding opportunities, for instance, to some of the other industries around. At the same time, I also find that you can make your own opportunities. You don't need to be dependent on funds. You know, for instance, at Flamingo Heights, we've bootstrapped it all. It's all, you know, just upcycled, and we've done what we can to grow it with very limited resources. I think what's interesting as well is back to, you know, values. If you have something where you giving, which is what my values have always been, you can't actually always pay the bills. You know, you can't always look after your team. So what I've been on my own journey through business is actually I'm not a charity, and I can only create impact that I want, share more stories with the world, do more stuff that matters, and share my message and help people if I've actually looking after myself. So actually, money is so important in business, but for lots of people, myself included, we forget it. And so when you're also making a trade-off with relationships or family or partners or friends or whatever, so you're working all this time, but you're not getting the compensation that you expect, I think that can be quite you can feel like a failure, because you can think, well, what did I do it for in the first place? And that's why I think at any point we can grow, we can change, and we can say, well, maybe this didn't work, but let's try something else. But back to that goal setting, you know, if you've got goals that you can achieve, then you've got tangible things you can measure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just on that one, but sorry to interrupt you there. On money, I think it's a really taboo subject, and I think there's loads of people online, money doesn't make you happy and all of this carry on. And they're almost saying that you shouldn't chase money. Now, I agree with that to an extent, but also it's not really talked about that money is really important. And why would you go to work and set up a business if you wouldn't be doing this if you got paid £1 an hour. I wouldn't be doing what I do if it was low paid. So I think people also need to hear that message. It's okay to do something that's high paid or go after a type of business that produces a lot of money so that you can have a better life and your family can.
Yeah.
But in turn, then you can employ more people, you can have a bigger impact, you can help more people. Money does facilitate that. And anybody who says, I don't go to work for money, I think there's an element of them not being sincere there, because if they were really underpaid, they wouldn't. Yes, there's charity workers, and I completely understand that there's always exceptions to every statement, every concept, but money is important, and you should never compromise your integrity or your morals for money, because that's definitely wrong. If you're doing something and ripping people off, that's when there's a line. You should never do that, but there's nothing wrong with chasing money if it's legitimate.
I think it's really interesting because there's been quite a controversial Diary of a CEO episode with Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. It was very much around us all having 24 hours in the same 24 hours in a day. You know, we all have the same 24 hours as Leonardo da Vinci or Beyonce or whoever. And it is true. We do have different choices, each of us, that we make every day, whether we work out or not, whether we eat a certain way, whether we spend time with family, friends, whether we work 3 jobs, 1 job. And sometimes a lot of that is necessity, and it's knowledge and it's access to information or support, or not having certain support networks. So I can understand as well, for those who are frustrated with that kind of concept of, you know, we all have the same 24 hours. We're all in different situations. So actually not everyone can replicate the same success. But at the same time, what I really like about that idea of us all having the same 24 hours is your journey there. So you didn't always have things in your life. You know, you've said before, you came from nothing. You know, you didn't always know how to behave in certain situations, got yourself in trouble sometimes, you know. So actually, in a sense, your journey is very much pulling yourself out, as we say, by the bootstraps, you know, to actually move and adapt and grow and learn and develop. So I think it's a really interesting topic, because I like to explore things from a social point of view, from both, and try to be balanced, you know, on each side. But what I'm hearing from you is actually, it's really positive, and it's really, you know, that desire to grow, and it's a journey, but it's also that definitely. Everyone has their own unique journey. So you're not sitting here saying, you know, like, oh, everyone can just be rich, because that's not what you're saying, but you can be rich in yourself and the life you design. So it's about the life you design for yourself.
100%. And just to pick up on a few things you said there, I think, I mean, the Stephen Bartlett thing, the 24 hours in a day would do, but everybody, literally everybody's life, some people can have a similar life. Everybody's is different, and I don't really agree. I don't really anymore agree with this hustle culture of get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, work all day, work 18, 20 hours a day. That for me is a one-way ticket to burnout or loneliness or unhappiness, because you will have to sacrifice things by doing that. Your relationship at home will probably break down. You'll probably not see your children enough if you've got any, and you'll probably not see your friends anymore. So is money worth all of that? If you actually think logically about that, it's not for a lot of people. I've done that a little bit when I was, well, quite a bit when I was younger. I did sacrifice. I broke down relationships. I hardly see my daughter when she was first born. Yeah. But I've made up for that now, because I'm self-aware enough to realise what I was doing. A lot of these people have heart attacks. That's why the age expectancy for a broker in London, stockbroker, is lower than most occupations. That life insurance is more expensive, because the age expectancy is, because they have a heart attack, because they run themselves into the ground. So yes, we all have the same amount of hours, but for me, the most important thing that you put in that 24 hours is something for you.
Yeah.
And if you write on the inside, the outside gets right, and your business will flourish, your relationships will flourish, how good of a parent everything gets better by you getting better. Because if you're not right up here, or you're not right everywhere else, it's harder to get the outside right.
Absolutely.
In putting something in for yourself might be 3-4 hours a day for some people. It might be 1 for some people. But if your priority is to get up and go to work, and then gym if you can, go out with a partner if you can, pick the kids up from school if you've got time, I think you're out of balance. Yeah, that's my views on that. And I think, again, people need to hear that message, because I look online, a lot of people that I know and a lot of people that I follow are promoting this work all hours every day, push, all of that. I'm still doing that, but I'm doing it a different way.
I love that. And I think for me, it's about just remembering, you know, yeah, we can have hustle culture and things like that, but actually, you know, it's really nice to hear your perspective, Terry, because sometimes I have chats with people and I always love them, but there's actually stuff I want to go away and think about here, because I know that, for instance, it's easy to go, oh, well, what about this? And what about, if I get to it. And it's so often we'll say, oh, I'm trying to be better, I'm trying to do this, or I'm sorry, or, oh gosh, I did that again. And actually going, hang on, well, do you even want to do that thing? Does it even meet your goals? And what are you doing for yourself? And what are you doing for your family? And I think that readjusting things that are out of balance is what I'm hoping to do after this chat. So I think it's a really, really powerful message you've got.
I think one thing on that is, if it's important, whatever it may be, whether it's fitness, your relationship, your partner, whatever, if it's important enough to you, you'll find a way. If it's not as important to you or important enough to you, you'll find an excuse.
Exactly.
I don't have the time. Oh, I've got this on today, I've got to do that. Oh, I can't pick the kids up. I've got to do, all my clients are on evenings, or I only do podcasts during the day. That means I can't. If it's important enough to you, you'll find a way of moving stuff around it. And I think that's ultimate. And what's important to you comes down to your underlying values. Because if you don't think being a dad or being a mum is as important as being a business owner, you will go to work instead of picking the kids up. If your underlying value is like money is everything, you will sacrifice everything else to go to work. But if your values are, I want it balanced, you'll then look at your working week and say, right, what can I put in? And you'll think, well, actually, I'm working a bit too much here. I need to spend some time with the missus, or I need to spend some time with the kids. And if you're self-aware enough to realise what you're doing on a daily and weekly basis, you can design your life so everything is even.
Absolutely.
Or it doesn't have to be even. Sorry, it can be balanced in accordance with what your values are.
That's it. It's about values, isn't it? It's about what's right for you. So I know 100%. You've got a very important call to get to. So if I can just wrap up with, what is your number one word to nurture your zest?
Nurture your zest, you mean nurture creativity, and is
whatever
that what you mean by that?
Whatever that means to you, yeah. So
one word.
What's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning and lights you up and gets you raring to go?
Oh, I took that question a different way then. I was going to say, well, the one word to nurture your zest, to get your creativity going, is timing, because I'm more creative at certain times of the day. But how did you explain that question?
So for me, Nurture Your Zest is the name of my podcast, but it's about how through overcoming life's adversities, we all go through prickly situations, but through courage, creativity, curiosity, we can find inspiration and nurture your zest. Okay. So what's your thing that you can do, or something that, like a word that connects with you with that concept?
One word is really hard. But I think something like design or something along those lines, because everybody's different in terms of what that is that gets you up in the morning, or that gets you going, or gets you past the difficult times. Everybody is different, but like we all have, this is a really deep thing I'm about to say, but we all have the life, right? And we're all born a baby, we're all born the same, and our decisions, choices throughout our time to get to today determines where we are and where we're going. But you can change that by designing your life in such a way, or designing the way you react to a situation. It comes down to the way you act in situations, the way you present yourself and carry yourself on a day-to-day basis in your business, in your relationship, in your health, at the gym and everything. So we're having a bit of a tangent there, but I think it's important for people to hear that you can design, as my word, design every part of your life to be any way that you want it to be in accordance with your values, and you can start now.
Yeah, I love that. Let's start now. Thank you. You've been listening to Nurture Your Zest, and I've been your host, Ashleigh King. You can find us online on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Nurture Your Zest, as well as our website and YouTube channel. If you've liked our episode today, please give us a follow or leave a review or any comments. We love reading these. We look forward to catching up with you again soon as you learn to nurture your zest.